I'm Nancy Day, and I've been a hospice volunteer for 30 years. And this is my husband, George Day, and he's been my supporter and encourager for 30 years. There have been hospice programs in England for some time, but it really had not taken hold in the United States. As a matter of fact, our program in Illinois, which started, was the very first hospice program in our state. And there were not very many across the country. Now I know we're in the thousands of hospice programs. But it was a whole new concept about care for the terminally ill. And it was very interesting to me, and there had been articles in Time magazine, newspaper articles, Reader's Digest, personal stories of folks, and I just heard about them, read about them, began to read some books about hospice, which perked my interest. Now, I knew a little about hospice. It was very new. This is 30 years ago, relatively new in the country and new in Illinois. And at that point in time, my mother and my husband's mother were both terminally ill. And I had a real interest in knowing what I considered to be a better way to care for them through this death. Well, early on, we didn't have a huge staff of people that were working in hospice. It was growing, it was new, concepts had to be understood. So the volunteers took on a lot of roles, and during that time, early on, I served as a volunteer on the floor at the hospital. We had a hospice unit. Then, when I became comfortable with that, I became a volunteer out in the community, going into the homes of people who were in hospice. After we'd been open for a while, then we began to see the concern for those who were in bereavement, who had lost loved ones. So we needed a bereavement coordinator. We didn't have one, so I volunteered to do that for about 18 months. And we had support groups that helped us with our working with bereavement. The community didn't know much about hospice, so I was asked if I would go out and talk to various organizations. We talked to a lot of churches, we talked to women's organizations, talked to some of the men groups, and then we began to get spots on radio and some spots on TV. And then this year, I was given the Jan Shepherdson Award, and the Jan Shepherdson is responsible for forming the local hospice group here, along with one of the physicians in town, one of the oncologists in town. And Jan served this community so well, and served hospice. Really is the one who founded the program and got it started. And they developed a Jan Shepherdson Award, which she was given for her many years of dedicated service. And then last year, one of the volunteers was given that award, and this year I was given that award. And it's very meaningful, having been involved with Jan. We were bringing her to that ceremony, this just very recent, and we brought she and her husband with us in the car. And I said, Jan, is it possible that we've been doing this for 30 years? And she said to me, we're just two old fossils in hospice. Well, I'd like to continue for the community to be more educated about hospice. It's still, when you mention the word hospice to a lot of people, they have a negative attitude and consider it to be a death sentence. And so I would like for the education to continue of what hospice can present to families facing terminal illnesses. And it has lost its newness. When it was brand new, there were a lot of organizations who wanted to hear about it. And you don't have as much of that going on. Well, there are new people involved. 30 years later, it's a whole new population that maybe could benefit from hearing it. Well, it's hard to discuss the legacy, because we both view it as having been so blessed to be a part of this community and the opportunities that we've been given. Both of us come from a very strong faith, and that faith tells us that the best way we can show our faith is by giving back to people. We're both very caring of others and concerned for others, and so I've been blessed for 30 years to be able to contribute in hospice, I hope. I've learned so much. They always say you get more than you give, and I feel strongly that's been the case for me. And of course, I'm very proud of my husband's legacy in 4-H, and he's been so involved. And he received an award a couple of years ago, and we went to Washington, D.C. for that, and that's your story.
Well, yeah, that's kind of based on past experiences and longevity also. So that's a little different deal. But I came kicking and screaming into the hospice program because my wife was so involved. But I soon found that it was something that I wanted to help with. I didn't think I could be a volunteer, but I couldn't do the same things that the ladies could. And I know they do have men volunteer, but I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. But I could sure give her support, which I have done for the last 30 years.
Yep, moved a lot of furniture around, taking recliners to different families that needed it.
Done that.
Helped me get patients in and out of cars when we needed to.
I keep telling the volunteers that I just hope that hospice is in place when I might need them.